Casey Houlihan, and I am the Executive Director of the Oregon Retailers of Cannabis Association, ORCA. For our annual lobbying trip to DC, the goals are multifaceted in many ways. Partially, it's to demonstrate the growth and maturation of the Oregon industry, to make sure that we can speak to lawmakers and have them understand that these are competent professional business people that are engaging in a legitimate business practice, and to present with them, or to them, some of the unique problems that these business owners are facing due to the ongoing conflict between state and federal law. I think to this end, and specifically for the legislative fixes that we were proposing this year at the federal level, it was extremely effective in terms of adding additional support and raising awareness around how some of these businesses are hurt by lack of access to banking and very specific tax rules that prevent them from taking most standard deductions. There have been a lot of very unique challenges in organizing a cannabis business trade association, particularly when we started the organization at the beginning of 2015. Precisely because we were new, there was no tangible victories that we were able to offer people or demonstrate to people in terms of our efficaciousness and just making sure that we could actually get things done on behalf of the cannabis business community. So as we progressed and as we managed to accrue pieces of legislation that we got passed and things that were very directly able to improve circumstances for cannabis business owners, that certainly went a long way in establishing that buy-in for folks and in helping to also establish the necessity in people's mind for this mechanism as a conduit between the business community and lawmakers to make sure that we have a voice in that process. I think that the process is very ambiguous to a great many of the folks that operate in the cannabis industry, and rightly so. I think a lot of folks that spent time getting good at cannabis production for a great many years did so at a great distance from policymakers and the law and anything of that nature. It was all very off the books by necessity for so long that now I think there's an inherent distrust of anyone that's trying to pull them into the process. Slightly less so for the folks that are throwing their hat over the wall to participate in the legal industry, but certainly in terms of realizing that you can have accessibility to the policy-making process, that it is not unidirectional, that we can actually speak up and impact how the rules are written. And once that became clear, we definitely saw a bit of an avalanche of support. We've also certainly seen fits and spurts of the industry's ability to provide resources to a mechanism like that, certainly as we've seen the saturation problem progress over the recent years, or in the past when stores were limited only to medical, or there would be rapid changes implemented in testing policies or wholesale transportation policies or any number of other facets that would lead to supply shortages on the retail market. And that has a pretty radiating effect across all levels of the cannabis supply chain. So that's certainly something that we have not been immune to, and we certainly suffer alongside the industry when we hit bumps in the road. I think the folks right now who are probably doing the best overall in the industry are those that are utilizing a lot of traditional business disciplines and incorporating that into their business. There's obviously a lot that's unique about the cannabis industry, and there's a lot of fine-tuning to those particular business models that need that level of cannabis-specific expertise, but one also requires the other. And it seems like the folks that are doing the best right now are marrying that cannabis-specific expertise to more traditional business, marketing, accounting skills, and we're seeing those two come together to create a very sound structure. I'm also seeing a lot of correlation between the folks that are utilizing data tools that exist out there on the market to dictate most of the decisions they make about how they run their business, rather than folks that are simply going with their gut, who tend to be a little bit more vulnerable. I think the most important change that we're going to see is one of the pieces of legislation we've been working towards this year, and actually for the last several, and that's Senate Bill 582 to allow Oregon to export cannabis to other markets. I think that it is imperative that we get that mechanism enacted as soon as possible. I think that right now we're experiencing a contracting market within the state of Oregon. I think we already know that there are more stores than the in-state consumer population can support. We're already seeing a great deal of consolidation and contraction in that segment of the market. Certainly we're also seeing that in the way that the saturation issue is impacting wholesale prices. So it's difficult out there. And we want to make sure that Oregon businesses and Oregon brands can stay alive as much as possible. And that's why it's absolutely critical that we start allowing that product across state lines and into other jurisdictions, other countries, because we need to access those outside markets. And in so doing, we can expand production dramatically within the state. That's going to mean a lot more jobs, it's going to mean a lot more revenue for the state, and it's going to mean a whole lot more money in the state coffers. I think one of the biggest challenges for retail businesses right now has been extreme price instability. We've seen retail prices, particularly for flower, just crater over the course of the last year and a half. It's more than halved. So I think that what we'll see when we're able to access outside markets and we're not seeing this artificial saturation of the in-state market, we're going to see a lot more stability. It'll bring prices down in other places. It's possible that it'll tick prices up slightly here at the retail level, but I think that in so doing, that will increase revenue that retailers see if they move the same amount of product ultimately, which is going to be a saving grace for many of the folks who are barely struggling to stay alive right now.